Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I will be doing my list for the top 10 episodes of modern Doctor Who. Now, this is a nice little break from the more mainstream MCU content we've been doing recently. Again, this is my list. If you guys have your own ranking, I would love to hear it in the comments. And without further ado, let's begin.
Allons-y.
I'm sorry?
It's French, but let's go.
Coming in at number 10 is The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances.
Are you my mummy?
Just to let you know, I'll be ranking two-parters and three-parters together. So, there were a few brilliant episodes in Season 1 of Doctor Who, and these are two of them. And another one will be coming up later in the list. Christopher Eccleston sells a brilliant performance which perfectly balances the tone of impending doom that the episode creates. This makes the ending in which the Doctor manages to save everyone work so well because we, the audience, were expecting the opposite. This episode also introduces Captain Jack, who would remain a regular companion to the Doctor for the remainder of the season. He brings snappy dialogue and an action element to the series. Both these episodes were the first with a real horror element, and Stephen Moffat did a great job in providing a clever explanation for the events occurring in this wartime London setting. It's a really strong two-parter, and takes a deserved spot in this top 10. Next we have Stolen Earth and Journey's End.
You are the destroyer of the world!
Now, I know many Whovian fans wouldn't include these in their top 10, and I can understand this. I mean, for starters, one episode is quite a bit stronger than the other. Stolen Earth manages to bring together the entirety of RTD's era, every series, plus Torchwood and Sarah Jane, and yet it was never convoluted or needlessly complicated. The Daleks were definitely the best choice of villain for this mid-season finale, mainly because they connect all the legacy characters, usually because of a strong emotional experience they've encountered or had with them. I mean, the pure fear and hopelessness shown by Captain Jack and Sarah Jane was fantastic. It really conveyed the power and formidable presence of the Daleks. And while Journey's End was a bit cheesy and over the top at times, I quite enjoyed this. Each of the characters have a chance to shine throughout this episode. There were solid emotional payoffs at the end, and we also saw one of the strongest scenes, especially from a dialogue standpoint, in which Davros unmasks the true nature of the Doctor. But yeah, Stolen Earth definitely raises these two into the top 10. Coming in at number 8, we have The Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit.
You're going into that black hole and I'm riding with you.
Okay, so these two episodes really delved into the philosophical concept of religion and challenging the unknown. And I love this. I love these sort of underlying themes that are explored in some of the episodes. The relationship between Ten and Rose in this one, as well as the Ood and the side characters, are really enjoyable to watch. Even the villain being Satan, quote unquote, was quite risky, but it worked really well, and they tackled the controversial subject of religion by leaving enough to the imagination, so it didn't support or deny any beliefs. This could have been the real Satan or a version of it, and I like how the Doctor is quite vague when referring to its existence being legitimate or not. It could have just been another monster like any other. The horror imagery was nice. I guess the one big contrivance that prevents this from being higher on the list is when the Doctor bumps into the TARDIS whilst the planet is collapsing into the black hole. But other than that, it's a really well executed story, and I'm happy to have this on the list. Now, this is the first three-parter, maybe the only three-parter on the list. Utopia, The Sound of Drums, and Last of the Time Lords.
I am the master.
Now, before I review all of them together, it's important for me to say that Utopia is a masterpiece, and if I were ranking the episodes separately, this would be in my top 3. It's also I like the pessimistic element behind the episode. Ultimately, humanity fails and becomes a hideous and warped reflection of itself, although this isn't clear until later on, obviously when they refer to the Toclophane in later episodes. I like how they refer to the primitive people as the future kind. I think that's quite neat. Derek Jacobi steals this episode from a performance standpoint. He is brilliant throughout. The setup for the Master's reveal is amazing. It works for both old and new viewers. It's a shame we didn't get more of him as the Master, but I think that John Sims worked better for the style of episodes that were to come, especially with David Tennant. His chemistry with David Tennant is great. From there out, it's not as good, but I mean, it still works. Sims' performance in The Sound of Drums is fine, but the episode doesn't follow the tension of Utopia's ending very well. They basically just break it down to like a 2-minute sequence at the start. It's just hand-waved, essentially. And the choice of song during the paradox scene feels quite strange. That kind of like pop element behind it feels weird. And last of the Time Lords is easily the worst of the three. My biggest problem with it is that the Master doesn't really do anything during the episode. All he does is just constantly taunt the Doctor. It feels like RTD didn't really know what to do with the Master until Martha comes on board the Valiant. Speaking of Martha, her flashback scenes felt quite pointless because the scenes and dialogue shown happened like 5 minutes earlier. It really messes up the pacing of the climax. Overall, these episodes could have been much higher if they followed on from the quality of Utopia. Now the next two parts on the list is Human Nature and Family of Blood.
I will give you one word of advice. Run.
I can safely say that this two-parter has David Tennant's best performance. It's one of the best stories within Doctor Who, showcasing the culmination of RTD's more human, romantic take on the Doctor, driven to its deepest and most beautiful extremes. Martha's response to the of the time racism is very appropriate and in character. She doesn't just compromise her position and purpose within the story for a moment of empowerment, which is what we're seeing in current media. She knows her role, she knows her duty in this sequence, she knows the importance of staying in character. The Family of Blood carry a menacing aura, and it's good that we aren't explicitly shown what they look like, similar to an entity in another episode that will be on this list. And of course, the Family of Blood has one of the best end sequences in all of Doctor Who. The Fury of the Time Lord, and that monologue, which showcases how dangerous the Doctor can be when you fuck with him. The acting range of David Tennant is unbelievable, and he manages to enact such a chilling performance without uttering a single word. These two episodes are really good, and they deserve to be on this list. Looks like we're halfway there. At number 5, we have Dalek.
You would make a good Dalek.
A truly amazing episode, and it's the episode that really got me invested in Doctor Who. We're introduced to the Daleks for the first time in the modern series, and this episode gives important context to the Time War, that it was the Time Lords versus the Daleks. This then brings out a darker side to the Doctor that will become all too familiar later on. The story wasn't as strong as some of the other episodes in this list, but that didn't take away from the episode. It didn't take much away from the episode. It was all about the Doctor, the Daleks, and the relationship between the two, and there was a true sense of fear that this Dalek was going to be unstoppable. Beautiful acting from Eccleston, and I'm so glad that they were able to get the rights to use the Daleks, because I can't imagine Doctor Who without them. Number 4, Silence in the Library and Forest of the Dead.
It's Vashta Narada.
So, you can probably tell already that I'm a big fan of the horror elements within Doctor Who, but these two episodes don't rank so high for that reason only. The writing and delivery of most plot points is mind-blowing. So many different ideas all fleshed out and integrated with perfect pacing. It's pretty much the amalgamation of everything Doctor Who should be. It's got a great layered story, it's baffling at times, heartfelt and emotional at others. The Vashta Narada were terrifying for me as a child. It has a good setting, a great cliffhanger, and a bittersweet emotional twist at the end. The idea of River Song as a character is unexpected but fantastic. Her interaction with the Doctor and Donna in their respective ways both work really well. I like the timeline principle, and it sets up the later events for Matt Smith's era nicely. When River tells the Doctor his name, his reaction to that is priceless. But then he quickly switches back to energetic and focused. I mean, man, Tennant's acting range is phenomenal. We also see the power side of him, which is more common with Matt Smith, when someone he really likes is killed. So yeah, very strong episode that just misses out on 3rd place. Taking the bronze medal, we have the 11th Hour.
2 parts of space and time that should never have touched.
So I was heartbroken after Tennant's regeneration. I mean, he's still my favourite Doctor. And I wasn't sure how I'd feel about Matt Smith. But it didn't take long for him to grow on me. And honestly, this is probably the best first episode from all the seasons of Modern Who. The best pilot episode for a season. It does a great job of introducing a new Doctor, setting up a new story arc, setting a new tone, with the change of showrunner, introducing 2 new companions as well as being faithful to who the Doctor is, and reminding viewers that even though Tennant has left, I mean considering how popular he is with both casual and hardcore fans, there's a reason to keep watching. The fact that this Doctor is still wearing Tennant's old clothing for most of the episode is quite symbolic. It tells us that although Season 5 onwards scarcely touches on things from the previous era, continuity will still be maintained and past experiences will be carried throughout this Doctor's journey. Brilliant pilot episode for Season 5, and it set up a strong story for the rest of the 11th Doctor's era. The runner-up for this list is Heaven Sent, and I'm really happy that Peter Capaldi is featured on this list. And although I didn't enjoy season 9 for the most part, I mean the writing was going downhill by this point, this episode is a rare gem in this season. This episode is really special and a high point of the show. It takes the cliche of the unstoppable, eternally patient monster who hunts its prey forever and flips it on its head completely. The episode focuses so heavily on Capaldi's abilities as an actor that the rest of his tenure never really did. His performance drives the episode. Being backed by one of the best music scores in modern Who, it's a really gripping dramatic story with a strong dose of psychological horror and tragedy. There are some flaws, of course, most noticeable being why everything in the castle resets except for the wall that he's breaking. It's not perfect, but everything it was trying to do was still held to a really high standard. Now for the honourable mentions, and I wish more of these episodes could have made the list. It was very difficult selecting just 10, and I don't think there's a lot separating some of these episodes, to be honest. Anyway, here are some of the episodes that just missed out.
That's who I am. The Time Lord victorious.
Don't turn your back, don't look away, and don't blink.
The app plans?
They've got 2 heads.
So why don't the statues?
Fear me. I've killed hundreds of Time Lords.
Fear me. I've killed all of them.
Well, couldn't very well keep calling myself the Master. Now could I? What's bad, Wolf?
It's the end of the universe.
So many years since I saw you last, but not a day of it on your face.
And now it's time for our number 1.
Do we have a deal?
I mean, what can I say? I'm a fan of horror. It's interesting because growing up, my friends and family saw The Weeping Angels as the pinnacle of Doctor Who horror, but honestly, that kind of jump scare horror never resonated that much with me. However, to this day, Midnight still gives me chills, mainly because I'm still exploring the underlying themes of this episode. It's the perfect story for the 10th Doctor in particular. I mean, his ability to integrate with the people around him to appear like one of them, combined with his arrogance that he actually is better and truly believes he is better than all of them. It's both on display, and this almost gets him killed. Seeing the Doctor possessed by the entity to the extent that he's aware of his surroundings but is left helpless is really unsettling. The relief in his eyes when his foot catches the chair, just small details like this, and then of course later on when he's freed and grasping for breath. It all comes together in a scene that not only weaponizes fear, but also presents it in a philosophical way. Having companion light episodes is crucial because it demonstrates the importance of companions in keeping the Doctor in check, especially during these times of helplessness. I'm glad that the entity is never unveiled or pondered upon by the Doctor at the end. He seems quite eager to dismiss the subject entirely. And this adds more to the psychological horror that layers this episode. Midnight is just the gold standard for character-driven episodes of Doctor Who, with every actor in this small set giving an outstanding performance. It takes a deserved spot at the top of my list. Anyway, that's my ranking. As always, if you want to see more Doctor Who content, just let me know in the comments. If not, if you want me to cover other topics, please let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss an upload. I'll see you guys in a bit.
Now taking the Holy School and God!